In 2007, LEGO decided to make a theme that would change the course of LEGO Castle. This theme would go on to introduce LEGO into the world of fantasy. Truth be told, LEGO experimented with bringing fantasy into their classic castle with the Dragon Masters and Fright Knights, each bringing in different aspects of a fantasy world. With Castle starting to die out between the Knights Kingdom 1 and 2 lines, LEGO needed a theme that would revive the castle theme. They saw success bringing in mythical creatures in their Vikings theme with dragons and wyverns, so LEGO went all out and gave us a theme that would save LEGO Castle. Going by Castle and dubbed as the Fantasy Era by many fans, it introduced dwarves, trolls, and living skeletons into LEGO. The Fantasy Era not only paved the way for other themes such as the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit lines, but also the Kingdoms lines that started in 2011. Now, without further ado, let's get into why this theme saved LEGO Castle and is loved by so many fans. Starting off, LEGO gave us fans 4 complete factions with this theme, 2 good and 2 evil. They even gave each faction their set for fans to call their base. So what were those factions? On the good side, you have the Crown Knights and the Dwarves. The Crown Knights had the King's Castle to call home, which coincidentally was the first set of this theme, and were released in many sets during this line. Led by the Crown King, their sigil was, you guessed it, a crown. They wore dark blue paired with light gray. Outside of the castle, LEGO gave them 2 towers, nice, and a port. They use horses and dragons as mounts to go along with their siege engines. They even have a complete royal family with a king, queen, and princess. Alongside them is a court comprised of a good wizard and Jester Gogo, as well as a general. The dwarves had their mind to call home. They were only given 3 of their own sets, appearing in 4 total during the Fantasy Era wave. Their crest is similar to the Crown Knights with their own version of a crown, a winged helmet with a blue background. They were given a king with a golden helmet in the dwarves' mindset. Based on your typical fantasy dwarves, the ones that J.R.R. Tolkien introduced to the world, they wielded axes, swords, and pickaxes and carried round shields. The 2 evil factions in this sub-theme were the skeletons and the trolls. The skeletons were the primary antagonist of the Fantasy Era theme. Under the command of the sorcerer Malik the Malign, they ravaged the land without mercy. Their base is the Skeleton Tower, which they keep guarded closely. The skeletons had many variations: the typical white skeleton, a heavily armored variant, skeleton horsemen known as the Skeleton Reapers, and black skeletons, which were a new version of the white skeletons. There's also a skeleton captain leading the naval forces for Malik. And finally, the trolls, which are my personal favorite faction of this sub-theme. They had their mountain fortress to call home, and they had troll warriors in many variations, giant trolls, which were dumber than a box of rocks, a troll sorcerer known as the Troll Queen, and of course, the Troll King. The trolls were given siege engines and a warship at their disposal. The warship is actually the only set I was able to get for this theme, but I absolutely love it. And their official enemies were the dwarves, but they of course opposed the Crown Knights as well. Wait, you've watched this far and haven't subscribed? You should definitely hit that button to see more content like this. Now, let's continue the video. LEGO released 20 sets for this sub-theme from 2007 through 2009. Arguably the most well-known set coming from this line was the Medieval Market Village, released in 2009. And I hope I'm not the only one when I say I had no idea that this set was from this era. I thought it was a Kingdom set until I started making this video, but I think that just goes to show that the design for this set was ahead of its time, and it took the perfect combination of the medieval vibes with the fantasy vibes, and I honestly think that this set kind of cut out the fantasy aspect of this theme, which, I love because, it goes along with everything that's being released today, like the medieval marketplace that was just released the beginning of this month, and, everything that'll be coming up in the future. And continuing off the design aspect for this sub-theme, LEGO took the good from Vikings and Knights Kingdom 2 and left all the bad stuff behind. You get rid of a lot of the blockiness. You get rid of a lot of those big pieces that everybody hated. And there are almost no Bionicle pieces to be found. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. But, and this is coming from someone like myself who grew up and was introduced to Lego off of Knights Kingdom 2, so I have a heavy bias towards that. But even I know when to take a step back and look for the different design aspects. And, there were things that Knights Kingdom 2 didn't do well at all. But the Fantasy era took a lot, and it took strides, and, it set a very high bar for the future of Lego Castle at the time. And that's all I have for today. The Fantasy era picked up the pieces that Lego Castle was left in after Knights Kingdom 2 and rebuilt the theme into the start of what we have today in 2024. Without the Fantasy era of Castle having the success that it did, there was a big chance of Lego Castle being taken off the shelves for good. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. It means a lot if you guys made it this far. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to see more, don't be scared. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be coming out with more in the future. Thank you guys.